the Los Angeles Clippers entered the 2019-2020 NBA season with extraordinarily high expectations. Having added superstars Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to a roster that already boasted depth, defensive tenacity, and a formidable bench, they were widely hailed as the team to beat in the West, perhaps the greatest threat to the Lakers' revived hopes behind LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The Clippers embraced their underdog-turned-favorite identity, radiating confidence under head coach Doc Rivers. Yet by the time the season concluded inside the league's isolated bubble in Orlando, the Clippers' ambitions had disintegrated in a spectacular meltdown. To this day, the story of their collapse in 2020 remains a cautionary tale about chemistry, pressure, and the unpredictable nature of playoff basketball. When the NBA paused in March 2020 because of the global pandemic, the Clippers seemed well-positioned. They were a top contender in the Western Conference, sporting a roster designed for playoff wars. Leonard, fresh off an MVP performance in the previous finals with Toronto; George, an All-NBA talent eager to prove his clutch credential; and a supporting cast that included scorers like Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, and Marcus Morris. Even defensive specialists such as Patrick Beverley brought intensity. The hiatus, however, raised questions for every team. Would momentum stall? Could rosters stay cohesive during unprecedented circumstances? In late July, teams converged on Walt Disney World for the NBA restart, dubbed the Bubble, an isolated environment aimed at completing the season safely. For the Clippers, the bubble context presented challenges and distraction. Rumors swirled about players who temporarily left for personal reasons, or others missing practice sessions. Kawhi Leonard, methodical about his health, continued his cautious load management. Paul George, who had undergone shoulder surgeries the previous offseason, faced scrutiny over whether he could maintain consistency. Still, on paper, most experts expected them to power through the competition once the playoffs arrived. Early seeding games in Orlando saw flashes of the Clippers' dominance, intense spurts on defense, timely scoring bursts from their stars. Yet there were also disjointed patches, last-minute losses, and occasional slip-ups in execution. Some blamed rust, while others pointed to a lack of continuity. The full squad had rarely been healthy or present all season, and the abrupt shift to the bubble only magnified those issues. Meanwhile, the Lakers steadily gained confidence, the Denver Nuggets showcased resilience, and teams like the Dallas Mavericks, led by Luka Doncic, emerged as legitimate threats. The playoffs began promisingly enough for Los Angeles. They faced the Mavericks in the first round, a series marked by physicality and tension, highlighted by friction between Marcus Morris and Luka Doncic. Though the Mavs were potent offensively, the Clippers' depth and experience ultimately prevailed in 6 games. Still, the series offered glimpses that this group might not be as impenetrable as advertised. George endured shooting slumps, and Leonard alone seemed consistent from game to game. Next, in the second round, the Clippers drew the Denver Nuggets, fresh off a dramatic 7-game triumph against the Utah Jazz. On paper, this matchup tilted heavily in the Clippers' favor. Few expected a Denver squad led by Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray to overcome Leonard and George. Early on, the results seemed to confirm those predictions. Los Angeles surged to a 3-1 series lead. With their 2 stars, plus a roster full of capable role players, the Clippers appeared on the brink of a much-anticipated Western Conference Finals showdown against the Lakers. Then came an unraveling so sudden and complete it still stuns observers. Denver, adopting an unflagging belief and capitalizing on the Clippers' lapses, stormed back. In Game 5, the Nuggets faced a double-digit deficit in the second half but rallied behind Murray's scoring and Jokic's all-around brilliance. The same pattern recurred in Game 6. A sizable third-quarter lead for LA vanished under Denver's barrage of threes and fluid ball movement. By the time the series reached Game 7, all illusions of Clippers' dominance had evaporated. Tension and nerves seemed to paralyze Los Angeles. Shots clanked off the rim, star players went quiet, and the famed supporting cast never found its rhythm. Denver cruised to victory, completing a 3-1 comeback and leaving the Clippers shell-shocked. In the bubble's final weeks, the Lakers went on to claim the title, while the Clippers quietly exited, their promised battle for LA in the conference finals never materializing. The immediate fallout was harsh. Doc Rivers, lauded for his leadership but criticized for losing multiple playoff series after building leads, soon departed the organization. Critics pointed to an absence of chemistry. Some players reportedly chafed at the special treatment Leonard and George received. Others questioned the mental fortitude of a squad that twice in consecutive games surrendered big leads. Social media buzzed with references to Playoff P, a mocking twist on Paul George's self-appointed nickname, as he struggled to produce in critical moments. Even the intangible factors loomed large. The bubble's unique isolation seemingly tested every team's psychological resilience. For the Clippers, who never fully gelled in the regular season, that pressure may have magnified rift. Fans and analysts alike debated whether the meltdown signaled a fundamental incompatibility among the star duo, a leadership vacuum, or simply a freak occurrence in an unprecedented season. In the aftermath, the franchise attempted to recalibrate. Tyronn Lue took over as head coach, hoping to rebuild confidence and better unify the locker room. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, stung by the collapse, committed to forging a new mindset. Yet the 2020 meltdown remains a defining chapter, one that showed the stark difference between having championship-level talent on paper and translating that into cohesive on-court performance. History has proven that star power alone seldom guarantees success. Team chemistry, mental toughness, and consistent execution often matter just as much. To this day, the Clippers' downfall in the 2020 bubble stands as a cautionary lesson in how a team that seems invincible can unravel under pressure. It underscores the unpredictability of sports, where one or two slip-ups can spiral into a full-blown crisis, and reminds us that reputations built in the regular season can vanish in the playoffs' crucible. The Clippers left Orlando having to confront the painful reality that a golden opportunity was wasted. No matter how much hype or how many bold pronouncements a squad boasts, a championship is never merely bestowed. It must be earned through synergy, resilience, and timely heroics. Ultimately, the 2020 collapse left supporters reflecting on what might have been if the Clippers had maintained a killer instinct after going up 3-1. Yet such speculation doesn't change the fact that a team heralded as a potential dynasty bowed out shockingly early, their star duo overshadowed by an unexpectedly galvanized opponent. Whether one sees it as a momentary lapse or a deeper systemic flaw, the 2020 bubble meltdown remains a stark reminder that a quest for a first-ever NBA title can be undone in a heartbeat. And the Los Angeles Clippers, once viewed as a surefire Western powerhouse, found themselves back at square one, forced to rebuild faith both externally and from within.